At the first light of dawn, through the tiny window of her attic room, Chinelo began her day. Her room barely large enough to hold a single bed and a small dresser. This was her sanctuary and her prison. The Okoyes family, whose home she diligently cleaned every day, occupied the mansion below. Chinelo had come to Lagos from her very small village in Anambra State, seeking better opportunities. The Okoyes, a wealthy and influential family, had hired her to maintain their beautiful house, take care of their young daughter, and prepare her meals. Despite the menial nature of her task, Chinelo took pride in her work. The house was always spotless, the meals were always delicious, and little Adobe, the Okoye's daughter, was always picked up from school on time. Every day, after ensuring the house was in perfect order, Chinelo would cook a delicious meal for the family. The aroma of jollof rice, suya, and vegetable stew would fill the house, making even the most reserved member of the Okoye family Chidi smile. But once the food was served, Chinelo would retreat to her tiny room upstairs, eating alone. Chinelo tried to ignore the way Nnenna, Chidi's wife, would make a jest of her, also make a mess of whatever she cleaned up. She tried to ignore the strange lies Nnenna told about Adobe, making the little girl seem troublesome and unruly. And she especially tried to ignore the sadness in Chidi's handsome brown eyes, a sadness that seemed to deepen with each passing day. Nnenna Okoye was a beautiful woman, always impeccably dressed in his latest fashions, but beneath her polished exterior lay a cruel streak that Chinelo had come to know all too well. Nnenna enjoyed exerting her power over others, and Chinelo was her favorite target. One afternoon, Nnenna deliberately spilled a bottle of red wine on the white carpet in the living room. She called Chinelo in with a sweet smile on her face. "Chinelo dear, I seem to have made a mess. Can you clean this up right away?" she asked, her tone saccharine in nature. Chinelo nodded, kneeling to scrub the stain out of the carpet. Nnenna watched her with a smug expression, enjoying the sight of Chinelo on her knees. "You know, Chinelo, you should be grateful. Many girls like you would kill for a job like this," Nnenna said, her voice dripping with condensation. Chinelo also said that she wouldn't tell her boss nothing, in a way not to infuriate her anger. Rather, she focused on her task. She had learned long ago that arguing with Nnenna was futile. In addition to Nnenna's cruelty, she had a habit of telling lies about her own daughter Adobe. She would complain to her friends about how difficult Adobe was, as she threw tantrums and refused to listen. But Chinelo knew better. Adobe was sweet, a well-behaved child who adored her parents and looked up to Chinelo. One evening, as Chinelo was tucking Adobe into bed, the little girl looked up with wide, innocent eyes. "Chinelo, why does Mama say I'm naughty? I try to be good," Adobe said. Her voice was trembling at this moment. Chinelo's heart ached for the little girl. She stroked Adobe's hair gently. "You're a very good girl, Adobe. Don't listen to what anyone says. You know in your heart that you are kind and well-behaved." Adobe smiled, reassured by Chinelo's word, as she drifted off to sleep. Chinelo couldn't help but wonder why Nnenna felt the need to lie about her own daughter. Chidi Okoye was a successful businessman. He seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. His once bright, cheerful demeanor has been replaced by a deep sadness. Chinelo often found herself looking into his handsome brown eyes, wondering what has caused such pain. One evening, as she was clearing the dinner table, Chidi lingered in the dining room. He looked at Chinelo with a weary smile. "Chinelo, you do so much work for us, thank you," he said in a voice heavy with emotions. Chinelo nodded, unsure of what to say. She could see the pain in his eyes, but she didn't know how to help him. "Is everything alright, sir?" she asked softly. Chidi sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's just Nnenna and I. Things haven't been the same for a long time. I feel like I'm losing her and I don't know what to do." Chinelo wanted to comfort him, to tell him that everything would be alright, but she knew that was not her place. Instead, she offered him a sympathetic smile. "I'm sure things will get better, sir," she said gently. Chidi nodded, though he didn't look convinced as he left the dining room. Chinelo's heart went out to him. She wished there was something she could do to ease his pain. One day, as Chinelo was cleaning Nena's walk-in closet, she couldn't help but marvel at the beautiful clothes hanging neatly in the rows. The silk clothes and the satins, in every color of the rainbow. She wondered what it would be like to wear such luxurious garments, to live a life of comfort and ease. As she reached for the pristine dress, a voice in the back of her mind warned her to stop, but curiosity got the better of her. She slipped the dress off the hanger, held it up to her body, admiring her reflection in the full-length mirror. For a moment, she imagined herself living the life of Nena. She pictured herself driving the fancy car, hosting glamorous party, having a handsome husband like Chidi by her side. It was a tantalizing fantasy, but one she could never come true. She knew this wouldn't even be possible. Chinelo quickly put the dress back on the hanger, feeling a pang of guilt. She knew she shouldn't have tried it on, but she couldn't help herself. As she left the closet, she couldn't help this shaking feeling that she has crossed the line. That night, as Chinelo lay in her tiny room, she heard a noise outside her door. She got up to investigate, but found the doors locked from outside. Panic set in as she realized she was trapped. She pounded on the door, calling out for help, but no one came. She was alone, locked in her attic room with no way out. She tried to reassure herself that it was just a mistake, that someone would come and let her out soon. But as hours passed, she began to fear the worst. What if the Okoyes had discovered her secret? What if they knew who she really was? Chinelo's thought raced as she tried to piece together what has happened. She remembered the look on Nena's face when she had caught her trying on the white dress. Had Nena locked her in here for punishment? As the night wore on, Chinelo's mind went back to her past, to the secret she had tried so hard to keep hidden. She thought about her family in the village, about the sacrifices they have made for her. She thought about the choices she had made, the things that she has done to survive. The Okoyes didn't know who she really was. They didn't know what she was capable of. But as she sat in her tiny room, she began to realize that it was only a matter of time before her secrets were revealed. Determined not to be a victim, Chinelo began to formulate a plan. She knew she couldn't stay locked in the attic forever. She had to find a way out. She searched the room for anything that could help her. She found a small window near the ceiling. Using a chair, she managed to climb up and open it. The window was narrow, but since she had a slim stature, she had enough space to squeeze through. With great effort, she climbed out of the window and onto the roof. She carefully made her way down, using the drape line to steady herself. When she reached the ground, she took a moment to catch her breath. She knew she couldn't stay at the Okoyes' house any longer. She had to leave, to disappear before they discovered her true identity. But as she looked back at the mansion, she felt a pang of sadness. She had grown fond of Adobe and even Chidi, despite the pain he carried. With a heavy heart, she turned and walked away, determined to start a new life. Chinelo found herself in a bustling market far from the Okoyes' mansion. She blended in with the crowd, feeling a sense of freedom she hadn't felt in years. She knew that she had to be careful to stay hidden from anyone who might recognize her. She found a small rundown apartment and began working odd jobs to make ends meet. It was a hard life, but she was determined to make it out on her own. She missed the comfort of the Okoyes' house, but she knew she could never go back. Months passed and Chinelo settled into her new life. She had made new friends and was starting to feel at home, but she couldn't shake the feeling that her past was catching up with her. One day, as she was walking through the market, she saw a familiar face. It was Chidi, looking lost and distraught. He didn't see her, but she felt a pang of guilt. She wondered how he was doing, if he had managed to find happiness without Nena. As she watched him from a distance, she felt a urge of determination. She couldn't change the past, but she could try to make things right. She decided to reach out to Chidi, to help him find peace he deserved. Chinelo approached Chidi cautiously, not wanting to startle him. When he finally saw her, his eyes widened in surprise. "Chinelo, is it really you?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. Chinelo nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat. "Yes, it's me. I'm sorry for everything. I had to leave." Chidi looked at her with a mix of relief and sadness. "I thought I had lost you forever. What happened? Why did you leave?" Chinelo took a deep breath, knowing she had to be honest. "Nana found out something about me, something I couldn't let her use against me, so I had to leave to protect myself." Chidi's expression softened. "I understand, Nena. She's not the person I thought she was. Things have been difficult since you left." Chinelo reached out and took his hand. "I'm here now. Let me help you." Chidi led Chinelo to a quiet cafe where they could talk in private. As they sat down, Chidi took a deep breath. "Chinelo, there's something you need to know. After you left, Nena and I had a huge fight. She admitted to everything, to the lies, the cruelty. She even confessed to locking you in that attic room." Chinelo's heart sank. "I knew she was cruel, but I didn't realize how far she would go." Chidi looked at her with a pained expression. "I tried to protect you, but I failed. I'm so sorry." Chinelo reached across the table, squeezed his hand. "It's not your fault. You did what you could do. I'm just glad I got out." Chidi nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "I don't know what to do now. Nena has left and Adobe is struggling without you." Chinelo felt a huge surge of determination. "We'll figure it out together. I'm here to help," she said. Chinelo and Chidi spent hours talking, planning their next step. They decided that Chinelo would come back to the Okoyes' house, not as a maid but as a friend and confidante. They would work together to help Adobe and to rebuild their life. Chinelo knew this wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to make things right. She had grown fond of Chidi and Adobe and she wanted to see him happy. When Chinelo returned to Okoye's mansion, she was greeted with mixed reaction. Adobe was overjoyed to see her, throwing her arms around her in a tight hug. "Chinelo, I missed you so much," Adobe cried, tears streaming down her face. Chinelo hugged her tightly, feeling a sense of relief. "I missed you too, Adobe." The rest of the household staff looked at her with curiosity and suspicion, but Chidi assured them that Chinelo was here to stay. As days passed, Chinelo worked tirelessly to help Adobe adjust to her new life. She spent time with the little girl, playing games, reading stories, offering comfort. Slowly but surely, Adobe began to heal. Chinelo also found herself growing closer to Chidi. They shared their hopes and dreams, their fears and regrets. Chidi confided in her about his struggles with Nena, and Chinelo shared her own secrets. One evening, as they sat on the veranda, Chidi looked at Chinelo with a serious expression. "Chinelo, there's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice trembling. Chinelo felt a knot form in her stomach. "What is it?" Chidi took a deep breath. "I know who you really are. I know about your past, about the things you've done to survive." Chinelo's heart raced. She had always feared this moment, but now it was here. She felt strangely calm. "How did you find out?" Chidi looked at her with a mixture of sadness and understanding. "I did some digging after you left. I wanted to understand why you felt you had to leave. I found out about your family, your struggles. I know you did what you had to do." Chinelo felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you the truth. I was afraid," she said. Chidi reached out and took her hand. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. I understand and I still care about you." With Chidi's support, Chinelo began to feel a sense of peace that she had never known before. She no longer had to hide who she was or what she had done. She could finally be herself. Together, they worked to create a loving and stable environment for Adobe. They took her to the park, helped her with her homework, and made sure she felt loved and supported. As weeks turned into months, Chinelo and Chidi grew closer. They shared their hopes and dreams for the future, and slowly but surely, they began to build a new life together. Chinelo looked out at the sunset, feeling a sense of contentment she has never known before. She had found a new family in Chidi and Adobe. As she stood at the veranda, Chidi came up behind her and wrapped his arm around her. "What are you thinking?" he asked in a gentle voice. Chinelo smiling in his embrace. "I'm thinking about the future, about all the possibilities." Chidi kissed her on the forehead. "Whatever the future holds, we'll face it together." Chinelo nodded, feeling a sense of peace. She had found her place, her home, and her family. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly happy.